/AskReddit by Reddit. What did a crush do that made you immediately lose interest? Back in college I was seeing a girl casually. Whenever we'd text, she'd take hours to respond to any message. It wasn't a big deal, since most of the time it was just chatting or setting plans for the following weekend or something. It was a little annoying, because it'd take a full day or two to set up plans, because of the slow responses, but whatever. I'm a bad texter, so I can't really judge someone for that. But I started to notice that when we hung out together, she'd immediately respond back to any and every text she got. She had some loud song as a ringtone that played for like 15 seconds and set it so that her camera LED would flash constantly while it rang. Totally obnoxious and made me really notice how often she texted. I casually asked her who she was texting one time, and it was just some friend from school that had sent her a meme. After that I realized it wasn't going to work. Being a slow texter is fine. Constantly texting while hanging out was annoying, but not a deal breaker, especially if we were just chilling at one of our houses. But the realization that this person who was glued to her phone but didn't feel like it was a priority to respond back to my texts made me feel unimportant, so I kinda just drifted away. We stayed friends because we shared the same group of friends and it wasn't awkward or anything. I just stopped trying to do things with just the two of us. Met a woman, thought she seemed cool. We went out to eat. She's telling me about how she fell on financial hard times and moved back in with her parents. The way she described it just sounded like she got unlucky, not that she did anything irresponsible. It happens. When the bill came I told her I'd pay. She said, "Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm trying to save my money right now." Me, "Sure, I understand. You want to get your own place again." No, actually I mean I'm trying to save up $500 for a tattoo I want to get. I've got nothing against spending money on tattoos, but when you've just spent a first date talking about the financial troubles you have, maybe now's the time to start putting money away for necessities, not tattoos. First friend in college. She sat next to me in English class and we immediately clicked. One day she suggests we go out and study together for finals, and I didn't give it much thought. Turns out she liked me as much as I liked her, so you could imagine my reaction. It was what happened next that changed the mood. Orders a coffee, they make a small mistake, and she flips out. Starts cursing at the cashier, demanding a full refund and an apology. I sit there confused. This is the same girl who looked shy and reserved when you first meet. She walks out. I apologize profusely and follow after her. She has the nerve to blame them, and I tell her it won't work out. The last week was awkward to say the least. She refused to move seats or sat next to me if I moved and acted like I was to blame for not taking her side. Like, no, you don't treat people like that. I don't think this counts as immediately losing interest, for I actually needed some time to notice there were red flags all over the place. Guy and I met in college. Shared hobbies and tastes in music and movies. During this particular instance, when we had just started hanging out with each other's group of friends, I briefly mentioned in front of him and a couple of mutual friends that I had googled this band he liked and listened to some of their songs. He deadass said that it was lame, that I was trying to act like him. Skip to a few months later, he asked me out. Took me on a date with his mom. Called that same night to tell me we were going too fast and that we needed to take things slowly. 2 days later, said he needed time to think things through because he didn't want to hurt me. Found out the next day he had been dating another girl the whole time. Ghosted him for a solid 3 days before he convinced me to talk things out. He said, quote unquote, that I was the girl he was destined to marry, but he needed some experience first so that he wouldn't duck things up with me. Oh. Cute girl in 9th grade. There was a party over at her house, out in the country. Had a big old crush on her. So she says they raised chinchillas. Okay, everyone wants to see the fuzzy critters. There were about 100 of them. The ammonia smell was unreal. So there's a platform with battery cables on it, and I asked what that was for. She said, "Here, I'll show you. Have some ready to go anyway." She grabbed a little fuzzy critter, clamped the cables on it and threw the switch. Without missing a beat killed that critter. It was bizarre that a teenage girl could electrocute an animal that easily. No more crush. I was actually afraid of her a little after that. It kind of sucked the life out of the party to say the least. I had a really big crush on a popular musician from the early 2000s. At the time, I was working as a personal assistant for a famous musician of a different genre, and he and his bandmates and friends were constantly giving me poo about having a crush on this guy. Well, Crush has a show in the city. At the time, it was pretty standard for any singer that performed in this city to have an after party at my boss club. So the Crush shows up. My boss goes out of his way to bring this guy over to meet me. This is Alpaca. She is the one that keeps all this running and me on schedule. She knows a little about your music. So I tell the guy that I'm a huge fan and at art to express how one of his songs had really helped me through a rough time. He holds up his hand to cut me off and says, "Yeah, okay, I get it. I know I'm great. So are we ducking or not? Because I'm not wasting my time when there are hot women here I could be working on instead." Boom. Crush gone. And my V made the window shut down noise. I gave him a slow blink and popped off. Well, we definitely won't be now. And walked off as my boss and his buddies laughed their butts off at the look on this pretty boy's face. True story. Took a girl to get her septum pierced. While at the piercing parlor she said she had to go to the bathroom. Went and came back out and asked me to step outside with her because she had to make a phone call. When we got outside she proceeded to tell me she had shit her pants and we needed to leave. I'd driven us to the shop, so had to drive her about 15 miles back to where she had parked her car. About halfway there she shit herself again. I dropped her off, went home, slept on it, decided not to be a douche about it. Accidents happen, everybody poops. So we hung out again a couple of days later. We stopped at a store and got out of my car and she asked me if her butt was wet. I looked and said yeah it was. "Oh, I just peed," she said like it was nothing. I then realized something was seriously wrong and removed myself from that situation. She was a cute intern at the company I worked at who I had a small crush on in the first week or so, but she came on so strongly that it was like a semaphore dictionary of red flags. When I realized she was a little intense I started talking to her a little less at work, though I was still perfectly friendly. Some lunch breaks she would put on earphones and salsa dance seductively by herself in the little break area near my desk. She was a good dancer, but dude, come on. Things kinda culminated when she turned up on my doorstep at 9 PM on a really rainy night. I was like, WTF, what are you doing here? But invited her to come in to get out of the rain. She refused several times, preferring to stand in the pouring rain while she apologized for everything she'd ever done, no specifics, and then went on a rant about how stupid I was for not coming to her salsa dancing classes when she'd invited me. I was mostly too surprised to respond, but she was doing enough talking for both of us. Then after 10 to 15 minutes of this, she said I should get home, turned around, got on her bike, and rode off. Didn't even say goodnight. One of my housemates had awkwardly been standing in the kitchen for the entire thing and had heard her whole spiel, and she was like, "Dude, that girl is about 6 different flavors of crazy. You were so nice to her." It only occurred to me after she left and I was talking about her to my housemate that I'd never given her my address. To this day I have no idea how the hell she found out where I lived, short of stalking me and following me home. She wouldn't have had access to any hour docs at work. She was just an intern. I actively avoided her at work after that, though she acted like nothing had happened. When the end of her internship came up and she went back to Germany, she bought me a leaving present. It was an A3 blown up photo of her laying on her front sunbathing topless, which had been her profile picture on her work Skype account until she'd been asked to change it because her manager said it was inappropriate. It came with a really long letter that basically was telling me what an idiot I'm for about 5 pages. I'm just glad the crush only lasted a week or so, and at no point did I start thinking with my D. Wasn't a crush exactly, but when I was in high school this quiet kid who was in most of my advanced classes asked me out to a football game with a post-it note. I'd never really thought about him before, but he was kind of cute and obviously smart, since he was in all advanced classes, so I figured, sure, why not? Well, the day of the football game rolled around, and it was absolutely pouring. Like torrential downpour, thunderstorm, and I really hate football. But I didn't want him to think I wasn't interested in dating him, so I probably would have gone anyways, except I was pretty sure I was also coming down with strep throat. I was. My dad said absolutely no way was I going out sick in the biblical flood, got me some antibiotics, and had me stay home. Fortunately, it was a Friday, so I didn't end up missing school. I had no way to contact my date, since he'd forgotten to give me his phone number. I went to school Monday morning and found him before class, so I could apologize and explain what had happened, and he laughed and said it was no problem. He hadn't stayed once the rain hit either. Found him again later in the hall, and he was making out with another girl. Apparently he believed in having as many girlfriends as possible, even at the same time, so he could try everything and figure out what it was he really wanted. Yeah, nope. Have fun with your probable multiple STIs. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comments section below.